Alright, I'm gonna take the screen down so I can.
Who's that good-looking guy over there in the legal department?
Did the proclamation?
You're not, you're muted, Dan.
The agenda? Am I not seeing it?
I gotta go, okay, it goes from the past.
It's the
Somebody
one-
from the past. Good to see you all.
Hi,
I can do an
Dan.
agenda mod, but I can,
That's all right, I'll just write it down on here.
You're looking
Otherwise, I'm gonna forget
relaxed.
to do it.
okay, yeah, no, because it wasn't, it
I'm
was
doing
not on
fine,
there.
thank you.
Good, all right.
It was a problem.
Hello, Dan. How are you doing? How are you doing there, Councilmember?
Hate against hate crimes during COVID-19.
Sorry, I was gonna write it down and do an agenda mod, but then I didn't.
All right, are we ready?
Yep,
Okay, you can hear me on the microphone? All right,
is your mic on?
my mic is on. Good evening. We will call the City Council meeting for May 18th, 2020 to order. And as you obviously can see, we are holding this meeting virtually per the Governor's Emergency Proclamation 2028. The City of Auburn is prohibited from holding an in-person meeting at this time, and all meetings will be held virtually and telephonically. At this time, Council and others who have joined, would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the
To the
United
flag
States of
of
America
the United States of
and to the
America,
republic for which it stands,
which
one
is
nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. If you are standing, please be seated. And Sean, will you please call roll?
Deputy Mayor DeCoursey,
I am here.
Councilmember Baggett,
Here.
Councilmember Brown,
Here.
Councilmember J-Raj,
Here.
Councilmember Malenga,
Excused?
Councilmember Stearns,
Here.
Councilmember Trout Manuel.
here.
All right, thank you. Council, we do have one agenda item on this evening that is an agenda modification for you. You will not see it on your agendas that you received. It is a proclamation that I am going to read. We passed something similar at the Sound Cities Association PIC meeting last Wednesday night. There have been a few cities within King County that have also passed a similar ordinance or a resolution or proclamation, whichever their city does. And I also want to thank Councilmember Trout Manuel for sharing some copies of those proclamations so that we could utilize the best of the best. Right. Whereas on March 12th, 2020, the City of Auburn, King County, and the State of Washington and the United States of America declared the COVID-19 pandemic a state of emergency. And whereas since the outbreak of COVID-19, immigrant and refugee community leaders and civil rights organizations have reported a regional and national increase in bias, harassment, and hate crimes, particularly against Asian American, Pacific Islander, African American, Hispanic, Latino, and other marginalized communities. And whereas misinformation about coronavirus propagates fear that hurts people and impairs the ability of our first responders and other city services to provide necessary response to COVID-19. And whereas we ask community members who observe or are experiencing incidents of discrimination, harassment, or hate crimes to call 911 in emergency circumstances and or report the incident to the Washington State Human Rights Commission at 1-800-233-3247 or the King County Office of Civil Rights at 206-684-4500. And whereas each of us can and should promote inclusiveness, celebrate diversity, support all fellow community members, prevent the spread of misinformation, and reject hate and bias in all forms. And whereas the City of Auburn rejects racially based bias, harassment, and hate crimes due to COVID-19 and will not tolerate discrimination of any kind, and denounces all COVID-19 related misnaming, blaming, and harassment based on race, ethnicity, physical ability, socioeconomic status, gender preference, sexual orientation, age, or religion. And now, therefore, I, Nancy Backus, Mayor of the City of Auburn, do hereby proclaim our commitment to an inclusive community that rejects stigma and bias related to COVID-19 in the City of Auburn, and urge residents to treat each other with respect and work together to overcome all expressions of hate and bigotry, dated this 18th day of May, 2020. All right, we will move on to appointments. Salary Commission appointment. City Council to appoint Judith Anderson to the Salary Commission for a 4-year term to expire on December 31st, 2023. Do we have a motion? Deputy Mayor DeCoursey.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to approve the Salary Commission appointment.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Councilmember Trout Manuel.
I second that, Mayor.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor DeCoursey.
Thank you again, Mayor. Each council member had an opportunity to review Judith Anderson's application and resume, and looking at her qualifications and her experience, she will serve the Salary Commission very well.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments from council? Hearing none, all in favor of the appointment of Judith Anderson to the Salary Commission, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say no. Passes. All right, I already... Oh, yes, council, if you could remember to unmute your mics when you are voting, that would be greatly appreciated. Thank you. All right, I already mentioned the agenda modification. I don't believe we have any others, Sean?
No, Your Honor.
We have no new business. We have no public hearings this evening. And for audience participation, this will be virtual. Participants can submit written comments via mail, fax, or email. All written comments must be received prior to 7 p.m. on the day of the scheduled meeting and must be 350 words or less. Please mail comments to City of Auburn, attention Sean Campbell, City Clerk, 25 West Main Street, Auburn, Washington, 98001. You can fax comments to Sean Campbell, City Clerk. The fax number is 253-804-3116. You can also email comments to scampbell@auburnwa.gov. And Sean, I believe there were comments tonight that we will not be reading them, but the title or the essence of the...
Yes, we have one public comment that was submitted and provided to council prior to the meeting. It was from Bob Zimmerman, and he spoke about proposed safety violations and ensuing criminal investigations.
Thank you. And council, you should have received that by now. All right, we have no correspondence this evening. We will move to council ad hoc committee reports. The chairs may report on the status of their ad hoc council committee's progress on assigned tasks and may give their recommendation to the city council, if any. for the Finance Ad Hoc Committee, Chair Baggett, do you have a report this evening?
Yes, Your Honor, thank you. The Finance Committee, consisting of Councilmember Stearns and myself, we reviewed 478 vouchers for the claims vouchers from May 4th and May 18th, respectively, of this year, totaling $4.7 million. And that included also 8 wire transfers. We also reviewed 167 pages of these vouchers, and along with that, we reviewed $4.9 million worth of payroll vouchers for the period of April 14th through May 12th of this year. Many of the refunds that were evident during this review were basically because of event cancellations and things of that nature, which will, of course, affect our city revenues. So that's where a good sum of these amounts of money came from this time around. So with that, we would recommend council approval.
Thank you, Councilmember Baggett. All right, we will move to the consent agenda. All matters listed on the consent agenda are considered by the City Council to be routine and will be enacted by one motion in the form listed. Do we have a motion? Deputy Mayor DeCoursey.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to approve the consent agenda.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Do we have a
Second, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember Brown. Deputy Mayor DeCoursey.
Thank you, Mayor. The consent agenda this evening consists of the minutes of the April 20th, 2020 regular council meeting, the minutes of the April 27th, 2020 study session, and the claims vouchers and payroll vouchers as described by Councilmember Baggett.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments from council? Hearing none, all those in favor of the consent agenda, please say aye.
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 All opposed, please say no. Passes. All right, we have no unfinished business this evening. We will move to ordinances. Ordinance number 6774, an ordinance providing for the issuance of one or more series of utility system revenue and refunding bonds. Do we have a motion? I'm waiting. There we go. Deputy Mayor DeCoursey. I was waiting for the hand
Thank you,
raise on
Mayor.
the screen.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to approve ordinance number 6774.
Thank you. And do we have a second? Councilmember Jayraj.
I second it, Mayor.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments from council? Seeing none, all those in favor of ordinance number 6774, please say aye.
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 Claude.
Those
Aye.
opposed, please say no. Passes. All right. Resolution number 5515, a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute an interlocal data share agreement with the Department of Social and Health Services. Do we have a motion? I'm just waiting. I think there we go. Councilmember Trout Manuel.
Yes. I would like to make a motion to adopt resolution 5515.
Make a motion to approve.
To approve, yes.
All right, thank you. Do we have a second? Councilmember Baggett.
I'll second that, Your Honor.
Thank you. Councilmember Trout Manuel.
I'm sorry, Mayor, could you get someone else to finish this? I have to excuse myself very quickly.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
no problem. Hope you're feeling better. Let's see. Councilmember, who was it? Baggett. Councilmember Baggett, did you want to speak to the motion? Councilmember Baggett, your microphone is off.
There we go.
There we go.
Bear with me just a moment. This is resolution 5515.
Correct.
And this resolution authorizes the mayor to execute an interlocal data share agreement with the Department of Social and Health Services.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Council, do you have any questions or comments? Deputy Mayor, did you have? Oh, okay. No. All right. All those in favor of resolution number 5515, please say aye.
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 Those opposed, please say no. Passes. Resolution number 5517, a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute an interlocal data share agreement with King County. Do we have a motion? Councilmember Brown.
Just unmute.
Mayor, I have a computer malfunction right now. If someone else can make the motion.
Okay. Deputy Mayor DeCoursey. Deputy.
517.
I'm sorry, Deputy Mayor.
Could you say that again, Deputy Mayor?
I move to adopt resolution 5517.
Thank you. And do we have a second? Councilmember Jayraj.
I second the motion, Mayor.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor DeCoursey?
Thank you, Mayor. This resolution is for a interlocal agreement with King County for coordinated entry and allows the city to have access to services and funding from King County and provides a coordinated effort to data collection to keep numbers accurate for people utilizing services in the system.
Thank you. Questions or comments from council?
Didn't we just do this one?
No, that was 5515. There are two different resolutions. One is for interlocal data share with the Department of Social and Health Services. This is a data share agreement with King County.
Okay, I'm with you. Thank you.
All right. All those in favor of resolution number 5517, please say aye.
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 Those opposed, please say no. Passes. Resolution number 5519, a resolution authorizing the mayor to make administrative changes to the City of Auburn's Community Development Block Grant Citizen Participation Plan. Councilmember Brown.
Thank you, Mayor. I think my computer's working now again. I would like to move adoption of resolution 5519.
Thank you. And do we have a second?
All second.
Okay, I'm trying. Okay, that's great. Thank you, Councilmember Stearns. We're trying to use the system to where you're raising your hand so I can see it over here on who to call on. We'll move back to Councilmember Brown for the explanation.
Thank you, Mayor. This pertains to the CARES Act, which was passed March 27th to provide aid, an Economic Security Act. And what it does is it will authorize the mayor to make adjustments to community block grants. The CARES Act provides that grantees may amend the citizen participation plan to establish expedited procedures to amend the consolidated plan and annual action plan.
Thank you. Questions or comments from council? Councilmember Stearns?
Yeah, thank you, Your Honor. I'm really supportive of this resolution. I just wanted to point out that the CDBG funding can be used to provide up to 3 months for health assistance and utility assistance, and that's really critical for low-income people to keep those families stably housed during the crisis that we have, and to address the needs of people who are on the cusp of homelessness. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? All right. All those in favor of resolution number 5519, please say aye.
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 Those opposed, please say no.
Aye.
Okay. Resolution passes. Resolution number 5521, a resolution authorizing application submission for grant funding assistance to the White River Trail Pedestrian Bridge Trail Connection Project. Councilmember Stearns.
I move to adopt resolution number 5521.
Thank you. And Councilmember, looks like J. Raj for the second.
I second that motion, Your Honor.
Thank you. Councilmember Stearns.
Thank you, Your Honor. This resolution authorizes the city to apply for grant funding for the White River Trail Pedestrian Bridge, which connection project. And our park staff is working with the Washington Recreation and Conservation Office so that they can build the bridge, which would connect both Game Farm Park and Game Farm Wilderness Park. And the bridge would be over the White River. And there would also be a city water main attached to the underside of the bridge. The city grant matching funds for the Trail Connections grant will be the construction costs associated with the bridge. The approximate cost of the Trail Connections portion of the project is $150,000. There will be no impacts to the general fund for the Trail Connections element of the project. The grant applications are routine city business, and the deadline for the grant submittal is June 1st, 2020.
Thank you. Questions or comments, council? Seeing none, all those in favor of resolution 5521, please say aye.
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 Those opposed, please say no. Passes. All right, resolution number 5522, a resolution authorizing application submission for grant funding assistance for the Jacobson Tree Farm Park Development Project. Councilmember Stearns.
I move to adopt resolution number 5522.
Thank you. Councilmember J. Raj.
I second that motion, Your Honor.
Thank you. Councilmember Stearns.
Thank you, Your Honor. This resolution would authorize the City of Auburn's Parks Department to apply for funding grant assistance for the Jacobson Tree Farm Park Development Project on beautiful Lee Hill. The grant will be used to add a great lawn, playground, restroom, and dog park, access and parking, and associated infrastructure. Phase 2 will include a multi-use synthetic sports field, a bike park, and additional parking. The approximate cost for Phase 1 is $4 million. Funding will come in the form of a state grant, with city grant matching funds coming from park impact fees. Funding for the project is identified in our capital facilities plan in 2021, and there will be no budget impacts to the general fund for Phase 1 of the project. Grant applications are routine city business, and the deadline for grant submittals is June 1st, 2020.
Thank you. Questions or comments from council? Seeing none, all those in favor of resolution number 5522, please say aye.
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 Of course, he raised his hand.
Oh, Deputy Mayor DeCoursey, I'm sorry, did you have a question?
I had a comment.
Okay.
Yeah, I had a comment, Mayor. I just want to remind everybody that I had a consultation with Director Faber, and as everybody's aware, with our current economic situation, some may be concerned about undertaking a project such as the Jacobson Tree Farm project. The park impact fees, what I understand, has a current budget of about $7 million. So we're well covered with what we need to do to provide matching funds for this project through our current reserves of our park impact fees.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I apologize for not seeing your hand raised. All right, we'll start
That's
that.
okay.
We'll start that again then. All those in favor of Resolution 5522, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say no. Passes. All right, we will move to mayor and council member reports. At this time, the mayor and city council may report on significant items associated with their appointed positions on federal, state, regional, and local organizations. And we will begin with Deputy Mayor DeCoursey.
Thank you, Your Honor. Last Friday on the 15th, we finally resumed our King County Affordable Housing Committee meetings virtually. We were scheduled to meet in March, which that meeting was canceled. So we had not had an opportunity to come together until last Friday. We had a very long 3.5-hour meeting, but it was very productive. The meeting itself had a number of elements to it, but I want to highlight one in particular, and that was the impact on the COVID-19 situation with our current housing situation. And if you may recall, I've mentioned it quite a few times that over the past 10 years, we've already lost 90,000 units of affordable housing. And as this crisis has gone on, we have definitely all seen the impact on households within the county, within the region. So our current King County population growth, as we know, has been much greater than housing production since 2011. And wages have not kept pace with the increase in housing costs. At this point in time, more than 100,000 low-income households pay more than half of their income for housing costs. And prior to COVID-19, 1 out of 3 households were considered cost burden in King County. Most disproportionately, renters are twice as likely to pay half their income for housing costs. And what we find naturally is that people of color are significantly more likely to pay more than half their income on housing. And we identified the need of additional housing units up to 244,000 by the year 2040, and that number has not gone away. But what we do see is that the current situation is creating some other issues that may affect people in their housing. For example, we've had moratoriums in the city of Auburn, as well as I believe 8 or 9 or 10 other jurisdictions have done this. They put moratoriums in place for evictions and for rental situations. At some point in time, those will expire, and the past due rents will be owed to landlords. And although tenants may be allowed to do some sort of a monthly payment to catch up on their back rent, those that are already considered to be rent burden are going to have even a more difficult time, not only just meeting their current rent needs, but trying to catch up to pay their past rental needs overall. The rental assistance funds that were provided through United Way's Home Base Fund could only reach 1 out of every 3 households who applied. In Auburn, approximately 300 people out of our total resident base so far have applied for this rental assistance. The majority of the folks who applied for this assistance are in SeaTac, Burien, and Tukwila. And what this means for the committee is that our focus has now shifted to look at where we need to go on a short-term and long-term basis with policy actions as this crisis continues to affect us. We know that cost burden will dramatically rise, disproportionate impacts will be amplified, and the need to preserve and build housing will continue to be at the forefront. And lastly, I made a recommendation late last year that local jurisdictions and the nonprofits who are members of the committee provide some information to the committee on what's happening in local jurisdictions based upon affordable housing activities. And I'm pleased to say that Auburn was first up. We were supposed to provide the presentation in March, but as the March meeting was canceled, we were able to provide the update last Friday. And our senior planner, Anthony Avery, who did the presentation along with Director Tate, both did an excellent job. And the title of the presentation was Affordable Housing in Auburn. And just as a quick reminder for everybody on Auburn's successes and strengths as they were presented to the committee, we've had 4 transit-oriented development projects anchored by the community rail station that totaled 753 units. We've had 4 60% area median income projects since 2016, consisting of 1,522 units. We developed the collaborative partnership known as SKIP. We completed the rental housing licensing program, crime prevention and inspection programs, and there are some concerns about mobile home park restrictions and requirements, but there are activities happening in that realm as well. So we've also looked at our House Bill 1406 and the strategies on how that will work across cities, and we've used requirements for development costs for ADUs, public improvements and fees, and we continue to evaluate city-owned land supply to contribute to a project. Overall, the presentation was excellent. I wish I had a little more time to present it, but we were short on time. But again, Anthony did an excellent job, and backed by Director Tate, and all the feedback we received from the members on their comments and emails I received show that both gentlemen did an outstanding and stellar job on this, and we have now set the pace for other jurisdictions to come in and do these presentations. That's my report.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. And also, we are members now of SHAPE, which is the South Sound Housing Affordability Partners, which is the Pierce County, similar to SKIP, but for Pierce County. So we are trying to be as inclusive as we possibly can when it comes to affordable housing. So thank you for your work in that regard. Councilmember Jayraj.
Thank you, Mayor. For the last few weeks, on Thursdays at 11 o'clock in the morning, we are still distributing food to the seniors around our city in the reserve and at the Shag and Hillside Garden communities. And these folks are very appreciative of what we in the city are doing for them. And we've got good comments from them, actually great comments from them. And they are very appreciative of what we are doing. So I want to thank our city for doing everything we can to provide food during this epidemic period. We also got a grant from Safeway of $10,000, which is going to be able to use, we're going to use that to extend the food distribution till the first week of June, if I'm not mistaken. So it's good news, and we're going to get people fed so that they don't have to go out and contract COVID-19. So that's what I have for today.
Thank you. Councilmember Brown.
Thank you, Mayor. I just have a short report, and it's essentially to express my appreciation and pride being part of a city that is working so hard to continue to provide the services needed for our citizens during a very difficult time, both because of health, the economy, our budget. So I want to give kudos to the mayor and her staff, the hard work they're doing, and all the employees of Auburn City.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Stearns.
Thank you, Your Honor. So let's see, a couple things. Last week, I attended Ryanine's annual spring meeting of the Watershed Ecosystem Forum. And the first thing that we did was to honor and remember former council member Bill Pelosa, who was also the Ecosystem Forum co-chair for a number of years. And then the second thing we did at the meeting was also go through the 2020 habitat and project funding. And I just wanted to report that one of those is Mid-Sound Fishery Enhancement Group's proposal for revegetation and invasive species removal along the Green River here in Auburn. So that was a good thing to see. And then the second thing is I attended a virtual conference last week called Forward Together Local Governments, and that was put on by the National Resource Center, FOLCO, and engaging local government leaders. So that was really good to see. And I just wanted to echo what Councilmember Brown said, that, it's really amazing seeing how people are, really doing well and looking out for each other, caring for neighbors. When I do go out, tentatively, it's great to see everyone wearing masks, and I think we're getting around to seeing flattening of the curve, and we're in phase 1, I believe, or I'm not sure what phase we are of reopening, but I could look across the river here and see people out on the golf course, and that's also good to see. So keep it up, Auburn. Thanks.
Thank you. And Councilmember Baggett.
Thank you, Your Honor. Well, with this advent of virtual meetings, we attended about 3 or 4 of them between now and the last week or two. The first one was that I had 2 meetings for the Board of Health for Tacoma, Pierce County area. And, basically the focus was on the COVID-19 number of cases and what we're doing in Pierce County to prevent that with the social distancing and everything. Their report on Sunday was that they had 1,795 cases with, unfortunately, 68 deaths. Of those people, of the cases that they have tested 20,700 Pierce County residents, with 8% of that total reflecting a positive outcome. That data was as of the 15th of May. Also, they've been looking into the maintenance and operations of the Lake Tapps water resources and trying to make sure that all of the contaminations and disinfectants and all of the good things that have to be done to protect our water resources, both in Pierce County and King County, are being taken care of. The Pierce County Council has been asking a lot of questions relative to that, specifically Council Member David Morrell and the Director of Health, Dr. Anthony Chen, has been diligently responding to those questions for the council. Between May 18th and the 14th, the Regional Transportation Committee had an update. Effective today, the 18th, all transit riders must wear masks or face coverings until further notice. Metro is procuring masks for riders and the drivers if they need them. Along the financial aspects for Metro, they're projecting a $185 million sales tax revenue loss for 2020. But the $243 million that they're receiving out of the CARES Act, which is directed specifically for the COVID-19 situation, that money may only be used to fund operations and cannot be used to fund the loss of sales tax revenues. We also met with EMAC virtually, which is the Emergency Management Organization, And I don't have the latest stats for King County as far as the COVID-19. I'm sure they're out there. But the primary concern there was the roles of our zone coordinators, which are currently employed by King County to represent all of King County in their particular regions. And they're trying to define, excuse me. They're trying to define the roles and responsibilities of the zone coordinators. And we will have from the city of Auburn an input. I have asked our emergency manager, Jerry Thorson, to talk to his staff and others relative to those roles and responsibilities, and we will have an input. The thing that we want to make sure of is that our county is represented, and they have not just specifically put, will not be putting other people specifically for the O&M department in place of our existing zone coordinators. So there's a lot of things going on right now, and I think there may be some politics involved in this. However, Jerry is looking into it, and we'll have a report possibly by the end of this week that I will pass on to Brendan McCluskey, who is the director of the King County OEM and representative for the executive, Cal Constantine. Anyway, that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Baggett. So as you can imagine, the last few weeks have been filled with all things COVID-19 related, continuing with daily meetings with the director's leadership team, working through all of the issues related to the city's response to COVID-19, the additional expenditures that are being made, what we can do to help our team members to ensure that we are doing everything possible to retain all jobs. So we have put some of our employees, especially the part-time or the seasonal workers, on unemployment for now. We have also asked for some employees to be able to do the shared work program, which allows employees to work 24 or 32 hours and still receive benefit of the funding through the federal government. And so we have some employees that are going on that. There have been reductions in salary for some employees, as well as the suspension of VEBA city matching contributions for the remainder of this year, and other very creative ways that each of the departments have identified ways to reduce expenditures for this year. And I want to say thank you publicly to each one of them. The directors have been working diligently on behalf of the city for the residents as well as for the employees to ensure that we are providing service to the very best of our ability in a very trying time, and that residents have someone that they can talk to anytime they call with questions or emails, that they are receiving a response. And I am very, very proud of the work that has been done by every one of our departments during times like these that we never anticipated. Also, last week we had was Police Officers Week and Officer Memorial Day. I want to thank you, the Auburn Police Department Honor Guard, for doing the flag lowering last week in honor of those fallen officers. And also related to COVID-19, we are putting together a business roundtable, Auburn Safe Start Advisory Committee, that will work with the different sectors in our city to ensure the proper restarting and the continued success and stronger abilities for all of the different sectors. We will be doing this in partnership with the Auburn Area Chamber of Commerce and the Auburn Downtown Cooperative. I'll read to you the different sectors that will be involved in this. We tried to do a broad reach of all businesses within our city. The auto dealers, food service, excuse me, manufacturing, healthcare, distribution wholesale, retail, tourism, construction, personal services, transportation, education, and also labor. And so we will be starting those meetings very soon and anticipate meeting on a weekly basis so that we can ensure that Auburn is ready and open for business as soon as we can possibly be. And we have no need for an executive session this evening. And with that, I hope Councilmember Trot Manuel is feeling better very soon, and we are adjourned. Thank you, Council.